In the swirling shadows beneath creation, where fire reigns and ambition is measured in blood, the second kingdom seethes with ancient hunger. Here, in hell's ever-shifting dominion, demons rise and fall by the strength of their claws and the cunning of their scheme. This is a realm where legends are forged in torment, where power is earned through battle, betrayal, and unending strife. From the cruel courts of the demon lords to the lowest pits haunted by monsters and merchants alike, hell's denizens plot, fight, and feast on the chaos of eternity. I'm Vigil, and this is Video Game Lore. Prepare to descend into the heart of darkness. The saga of the demons begins now. Demons are the denizens and rulers of hell, the fearsome second kingdom, a domain where power is both law and currency, and only the strong survive to carve their names into legend. The essence of demonkind is bloodlust and cruelty. They are creatures of unbridled selfishness, ruled by brutality and the eternal hunger for dominance. With their eternal nemesis, the angels, embody order and celestial discipline. The demons are their wild, savage counterpart, locked in an endless stalemate with heaven for dominion over all creation. It is important to note that the chosen, while often mistaken for demons due to their monstrous forms and overwhelming presence, are in truth beings of an older darkness. They hail from the abyss, predating both angel and demon, and their non-humanoid shapes and alien features reveal origins untouched by angelic ancestry. The society of hell is a brutal, feudal meritocracy, a sprawling hierarchy where one's rank is decided purely by might. Only the strongest ascend to become demon lords or masters of hell, and these titans of the pit are in a constant, bloody struggle, waging endless war against each other for control of hell's many domains. Scores of powerful demons carve out their own territories through sheer prowess, but all bow, at least in name, to the supreme ruler, a dark one whose strength eclipses all others. Yet even this throne is forever contested. Should a greater demon rise, the seat of ultimate power is theirs to claim. Samael, for instance, was once believed destined to ascend as hell's next sovereign before the apocalypse. In battle, most demons rely not on the artifice of weapons, but on the primal savagery of claws, talons, and fangs, embodying the raw, predatory nature that defines their race. Though a few wield crude projectile weapons, the technology of hell is primitive compared to their angelic foes. Brute force and the thrill of the kill are the only tools truly honored. Unlike the angels, who are bound by strict codes and shun forbidden practices, demons harbor no such scruples. Dangerous magics, especially necromancy, are commonplace among hell's armies, their lawless society unconcerned with the taboos that bind their adversaries. For the angels, necromancy is abhorrent. For the armies of hell, it is but another weapon in their arsenal, as seen in the horrors unleashed on earth. The precise hierarchy of hell remains shrouded in mystery, but it is understood that the title of prince, such as Lucifer, the Dark Prince, marks the highest station. Lord and Master, though not supreme, are ranks of great prestige and power among demonkind. Hell itself, known as the Second Kingdom, or the Dark Kingdom, is the second great realm that maintains the universal balance within the Darksiders universe. As its name implies, it is the spawning ground and home of the demonic hordes, the crucible from which their numbers surge forth into the cosmos. On Earth, the legions of hell are commanded by the Destroyer, a being of unimaginable power, who charged his champion Straga with claiming the third kingdom of man, Earth itself, for the glory of the demonic cause. This eternal campaign pits the forces of hell against heaven's immortal host in a war that has raged for a millennia, each side locked in a struggle that will only end when all things are ashes. The true layout of hell is largely unknown, a vast, chaotic expanse, teeming with countless domains, each ruled by demons locked in perpetual combat for supremacy. It is hinted that hell may be composed of 9 layers or domains, a structure alluded to throughout the Darksiders saga. Some demons, like the merchant Vulgrim, have carved out realms beyond hell's traditional borders and claimed dominion over them as their own. Death himself once journeyed to Samael's fortress in Shadow's Edge, though what lay beyond the Black Stone remained largely unexplored. Other domains, such as Moloch's Red Waste, are among the many hellish kingdoms visited by the horsemen in their ceaseless pursuit of balance. Among the endless throngs of hell's damned, few demons have risen to the heights of power and legend attained by Samael, the Blood Prince. While Lucifer's name is spoken in fear, it is Samael whose shadows looms just as large, a prince among demons, a rival to the throne itself. Samael rejected the Destroyer's rule, and for his defiance, he was condemned to eternal imprisonment. But fate would grant him freedom when war, seeking retribution for the premature apocalypse, came to Earth. In that desperate hour, the horseman struck a pact with the demon in exchange for the 4 hearts of the Chosen. Samael would unlock the road to the Black Throne. Even diminished, with the bulk of his power sealed within the Chosen, Samael's strength was awe-inspiring. He bestowed upon war new abilities, shadow flight to soar above the battlefield, chronomancer to bend time's flow, and, with uncanny omniscience, watched war's every move from afar. When his powers were finally restored, Samael declared himself as a god among demons, a being to whom none could compare. Lilith, the Mad Queen herself, once admitted that no demon lord in any realm could match Samael's might. She claimed that if he chose, he could seize control of Hell's armies and rule every demon. Vulgrim, the sly merchant, mused that even the Dark Prince Lucifer may have considered Samael a true threat. Shrouded in mystery, Samael's origins are lost to time, but his dominion over the Red Court and his fortress, the Black Stone, make him one of the oldest and most formidable demons to ever stalk the Dark Kingdom. Death himself noted that Samael bore witness to the horsemen's massacre of the Nephilim at Eden, watching with cold, calculating interest. After the slaughter at Eden, Lilith sought Samael's help in seeking vengeance on those who blamed her for her children's destruction, humanity foremost among them. Samael, however, spurned his former lover's request, only to discover later that she had allied with Lucifer. Together, they crafted a weapon of revenge, the Animus, designed to corrupt mankind. Lucifer's offer to his demon peers were simple: great power in exchange for their souls at death, a bargain accepted by Astarte, Mammon, Belial, Dagon, and Moloch. Their souls would be used as raw material, gifting humanity with the worst traits of demonkind. But Samael was too shrewd to become the Dark Prince's sacrificial pawn. In time, he would regret this, for Moloch, empowered by Lucifer's blood mantle, mounted a full-scale assault on Shadow's Edge, making himself nigh invincible. When strife and war infiltrated Samael's fortress, the Blood Prince quickly devised a scheme to turn Lucifer's plot to his own advantage. As Samael battled Moloch, he sent the horsemen to Vulgrim, setting in motion a plan that would shift the balance of power in Hell. After suffering a bitter defeat, Samael regrouped with the horsemen at Vulgrim's hideout, where the trio assembled the Scrying Eye, a powerful artifact capable of tracking Lucifer's allies. Knowing the horsemen could not yet match the might of the demon masters, Samael unlocked their true potential, teaching them to draw upon their inner reserves and unleashing their ultimate transformation. With the Scrying Eye, Samael guided the horsemen to Lucifer's conspirators. First, they hunted Mammon and Belial, eliminating 2 of Samael's rivals. Samael then sent them to Eden, where they destroyed Astarte and Dagon. Once the stage was set, Samael directed the horsemen to weaken Moloch's forces and destroy his blood mantle, before leading them to confront Moloch himself. Samael observed the battle with relish, watching as strife and war fought Moloch to the brink of death. As Moloch lay dying, he revealed a glimpse of Lucifer's true plan before Samael silenced him forever. Finally, Samael revealed the full scope of Lucifer's scheme, explaining how the horsemen had been used as executioners and sending them to Earth to witness the consequences of their actions firsthand. When the Charred Council forged the 7 seals and enforced a truce that would hold until humanity was ready to take its place among the kingdoms, Samael stood in their chamber as demonkind's representative. Having assimilated the forces and resources of the fallen demon masters, his power was now said to rival even Lucifer's. Shortly before the apocalypse, Lilith once more sought Samael in his stronghold, offering to fulfill his every desire. Whatever her price, Samael showed no interest, telling her he wished only for her silence. When the 4 horsemen arrived to enforce the peace between heaven and hell, Samael first told them to take their warnings to the Dark One. But the horsemen insisted that the true balance of power rested with Samael himself, not Lucifer. Lilith, stung by war's barbed words, retorted that Abaddon was the one preaching war and suggested they chain the angel, not the Blood Prince. When death visited Samael's domain in Shadow's Edge to claim the demonic key to the Well of Souls, Samael quickly realized that the Nephilim had come from the future of his own accord, not by the Council's orders. Mildly disappointed that death had come alone and not with the rest of his brethren, Samael nonetheless forced him to fight for the key. Though neither unleashes their full strength, death eventually wounded Samael. Surprised but gracious, Samael surrendered the demon key, remarking that the coming battle between Death and Absalom would be a spectacle to see. After the apocalypse, Samael openly defied the Destroyer's rule and was imprisoned in the scalding gallows for his rebellion, his power drained. When War returned to the earth and sought Samael's aid, Vulgrim directed him to the Blood Prince's prison. War fought through the guards, freed Samael, and struck a bargain. In exchange for the hearts of the chosen, Samael would open the path to the Black Throne. Before War departed, Samael granted him a gift of shadow flight. When War returned with Tiamat's heart, Samael demanded the heart of the Griever as well, warning that War would need to face the Black Hammer. The Watcher accused Samael of changing the terms, but Samael struck the Watcher aside, calling it filth and a parasite, and urged War to destroy it. War, instead, only stunned the Watcher after unleashing his chaos form. Samael saw this as a weakness, but admitted that he glimpsed in War the one destined to destroy the Destroyer's armies. Each time War returned with another heart, Samael rewarded him, first with the Chronomancer power, then with guidance to the Ashlands to slay the Stygian, then onto the Iron Canopy to claim Silith's heart. Once Samael had devoured all 4 hearts, his full might returned. He taunted War, boasting that he could kill the horsemen at will, but ultimately held to his word. Samael respected War's quest for vengeance, recognizing in it a code he could honor, even if he himself cared nothing for balance or the Council's laws. Samael then conjured a portal for War to reach the Black Throne. The Watcher warned against entering, but War ignored him and stepped through, Samael's parting words echoing,
"We will meet again."
Samael's defining trait is the pursuit of his own mysterious goals. No one, neither horseman nor demon, can truly fathom his ultimate plans. He is a being of immense intelligence, subtlety, and patience, adhering to a personal code even as he weaves deception and manipulation to achieve his ends. Though he has little respect for laws or honor, he keeps his bargains, using war and strife to eliminate his rivals while always maintaining the letter of his word. Unlike most demons, Samael is remarkably pragmatic, preferring strategy to brute force. When accused by the horsemen of colluding with Lucifer, he scoffed at such base villainy. Insisting that he had no desire to antagonize the council, he rejected the schemes of Lilith and Lucifer, preferring to work with the horsemen when it suited him. His irritability is well known, but he rarely loses his composure, preferring to wield his temper as a weapon rather than a weakness. Samael's sense of humor is as dark as the abyss, laced with biting wit and sardonic commentary. He is one of the best informed beings in existence, rivaling even the Crowfather in his knowledge, and is a master of subtle manipulation. Direct, heavy-handed schemes are not his style. His power lies in turning others' plans into his own advantage. His might nearly unmatched, at his peak, Samael is believed by some to rival Lucifer himself. Even when stripped of power, he declared that the council should have sent all 4 horsemen to execute him, not just War. His near omniscience can observe events from afar, tracking War's actions on Earth and discerning Death's time-traveling presence with ease. His telekinesis manipulates his throne room's very stone and can hurl Death about like a doll. Teleportation allows him to vanish and reappear in a burst of flaming darkness, traversing the realms at will. His fire and lightning magic conjures fireballs, eruptions, and storms of lightning, cloaking himself in a blazing armor of destruction. He has the abilities to grant powers, and can bestow abilities upon others, as he did with War's Shadow Flight and Chronomancer. His Chronomancy wields limited mastery over time itself, slowing its flow with the chronospheres. He can create serpent holes, as he opens portals between worlds, his passage marked by blood-red spirals. He has immense strength, durability, and endurance. Samael's physical might matches his magical power. He is nearly impossible to harm, and can survive imprisonment and battle with barely a scratch. And with a thought, he can conjure weapons of war, as when he faced Moloch in battle. Samael is a force of nature, schemer, kingmaker, and god among demons. His shadow will linger over the fate of the horsemen and all creation, for as long as ambition and vengeance burn in the hearts of gods and monsters alike. Lilith is infamous among all demons, a master of manipulation and seduction, whose schemes have sparked countless calamities across the cosmos. Her machinations echo through the ages. She is the architect of the genocidal Nephilim, and by extension, bears indirect responsibility for the defilement and eventual destruction of the Third Kingdom. Long ago, Lilith became entwined with Gulbanan, a legendary maker, seducing him and extracting from him the forbidden secrets of life crafting. When Gul'banin realized the peril of the knowledge he had revealed, he resolved to expose her plans to his kin. But before he could, his apprentice Belisatra, hungry for power and eager to witness Lilith's creations, murdered him, forever silencing his confession. Belisatra's loyalty was rewarded. Lilith, wielding the stolen arts, combined the dust of angels and the ashes of demons to fashion Absalom, the first Nephilim, a titanic being from whom the rest of the hybrid race, including the four horsemen, would descend. Lilith saw all Nephilim as her children, though death would later spurn her claim of motherhood. After the Nephilim's devastating crusade began, the Charred Council acted to preserve the balance, stripping Lilith of her forbidden knowledge. Furious but ultimately resigned, Lilith abandoned her quest to recover what was lost and turned to new schemes. Yet she never forgave the Council, nor the Horsemen, for the slaughter of her creations. Most of all, she reserved a profound resentment for mankind, blaming them for the Nephilim's annihilation, resenting humanity as the Creator's favored children, chosen above her own. Mad with grief and vengeance, Lilith sought ways to spite the Third Kingdom. She first approached Samael, hoping to ensnare him in her plots, but found herself rebuffed. Samael would not risk the Council's wrath or entangle himself with her games. Spurned, Lilith's bitterness only deepened. Eventually, she found welcome in the court of Lucifer, the Dark Prince, whose hatred for humanity mirrored her own. Together, they conspired with demon and angel lords alike, weaving a web of treachery against the balance itself. Through cunning manipulation of war and strife, Lilith and Lucifer created the Animus, a weapon forged from the souls of fallen masters from hell. With the Animus, they located humanity's new refuge, Earth, and unleashed corruption upon mankind. Eons after the Nephilim's fall, Lilith became entangled in the Abomination Vault crisis. Hadramon, a rogue angel burning for revenge, sought her out in hell, proposing an alliance to shake the foundations of creation. He argued that she owed nothing to heaven or hell and offered her a chance to reclaim what was stolen for her. In return, he demanded any knowledge she had of the Abomination Vault, the secret prison of world-ending horrors. Lilith, wary of drawing the universe's ire, refused to aid him openly, but to avoid earning a new enemy, she tried to seduce Hadramon as he departed. His stoic resistance, born of love for another, surprised and irritated her. Not long after, death and war descended into hell, seeking answers about Belisatra's involvement in Hadramon's plot. Death, his mind armored by knowledge of Lilith's crimes, was confident in his immunity to her wiles, but nonetheless made war wait outside, unwilling to risk his brother's heart against her seductive power. Death confronted Lilith alone, immediately rebuffing her advances and demanding the location of her wayward apprentice. Lilith, with little incentive to cooperate, tried to stonewall him. Forced to reconsider, Lilith confessed that Belisatra had left her for Hadramon, and after a heated exchange of threats, she grudgingly revealed the location of a secret laboratory she had once shared with Gul'banin. Shortly before the apocalypse, Lilith appeared in Samael's domain, offering him anything he desired for a price left unspoken. Samael, however, dismissed her with cold indifference, stating that he wished only for her silence. When the four horsemen arrived, delivering a warning to Samael to honor the treaties binding heaven and hell, they implied that Lilith's presence heralded Samael's impending claim to Lucifer's throne. Lilith's fury flared. She directed them to Abaddon, a true advocate of war, if threats were to be made. Whether by angelic spy or Lucifer's near omniscience, Lilith learned of Abaddon's design. Using this intelligence, she prepared the legions of hell ahead of time for the coming angelic assault. It was Lilith who transformed the disgraced angel Abaddon into the Destroyer. Her voice echoed during Abaddon's metamorphosis, tempting him with the choice to serve in heaven or rule in hell. As Abaddon embraced his new destiny, Lilith's laughter rang through the darkness. After Fury and the last of humanity escaped the Destroyer's final assault, Lilith reported to Lucifer from the shadows. Lucifer, amused that Fury now guarded humanity's remnants, was more concerned that she possessed the Lord of Hollow's amulet, the Stone Sigil, a power he had instructed her to destroy. Lucifer assured her Fury was ignorant of its significance. Lucifer reveled in his confidence. With Abaddon ruling Earth as the Destroyer, heaven and hell locked in ruinous war, and the Council's own balance unraveling, the Seventh Seal would soon break, and all his rivals would fall to corruption, leaving him alone atop the ashes. Satisfied, Lucifer dismissed Lilith to contemplate his next move. Some time before the Destroyer's fall, Lilith learned that death was seeking a way to resurrect humanity. Hoping to turn him to her cause, she haunted Shadow's Edge, knowing he would come for the Demon King to the Well of Souls. When Death at last arrived, Ostagoth, the merchant, told him of Lilith's presence. Death found her emerging from a pool of magma in Samael's stronghold. Lilith, half in jest, asked if Death blamed her for hiding, reminding him that not even his mother was safe from Death's reach. Death rejected her claim of kinship, prompting Lilith to recount the creation of Absalom and the Nephilim, and to accuse Death of keeping their souls in the amulet to one day reverse his crime. Death, furious, demanded the demon key, and Lilith revealed it was with Samael, granting Death the Phase Walker to travel into the past to retrieve it. In exchange, she asked that he resurrect the Nephilim at the Well of Souls. Death left in stony silence, Lilith smiling behind him. When Death triumphed over Absalom, halted the corruption, and restored humanity by sacrificing the Nephilim's souls, Lilith was seen walking a dark corridor to meet a shadowy figure, her prince, Lucifer himself. When asked about the Nephilim, Lilith could offer no excuse. The voice told her the end war had begun, and that Death had restored mankind instead of delivering the promised Nephilim army. Lilith, resigned, said she would accept her punishment, only to be told that this time there would be no pleasure in it. Her screams echoed in the darkness. Lilith's character is defined by ruthless ambition, a relentless hunger for power, no matter the cost. She is a master manipulator, using anyone and anything to achieve her goals, even fellow demons. Deceptive and calculating, she once seduced Abaddon into betraying heaven and becoming the destroyer. Ever the opportunist, she is always seeking the next advantage, and is cowardly enough to avoid direct confrontation unless victory is assured or allies are present. Her default mask is one of sultry hospitality, but her temper is quick and her true motives colder still. Lilith's seductive power is infamous, often irresistible, though not without limits. Hadramon's devotion to Raciel shielded him from her charms, while Death's revulsion and knowledge of her crimes kept him immune. Whether the other horsemen could withstand her temptation is unknown. Death himself warned not to take the risk. Samael, for his part, was unmoved by Lilith's allure, dismissing her advances with utter disdain. Cunning and ambitious, Lilith respects those who match or surpass her in power. She seeks lovers, not for companionship, but to gain what they possess. Though she claims the title of Lucifer's bride, perhaps the only being she truly fears, her loyalties are as mutable as her desires. When Samael's power threatened Lucifer's supremacy, she abandoned one for the other, and she has been known to offer herself to any who might amuse or benefit her, her loyalty always given to power, never to love. Vulgrim stands as one of Hell's most infamous merchants, a demon whose knowledge of the mortal realms is matched only by his insatiable hunger for souls. Unlike many of his kin, Vulgrim serves no master. He operates independently through the apocalypse, bartering in souls and secrets, always seeking profit and opportunity. His appetite expands. He accepts not just souls, but guilt and boatman tokens, ever eager to fatten his hoard. Ever ambitious, Vulgrim scours the realms for the 4 lost chapters of the Book of the Dead, each chapter hidden in 10 scattered pages. Any who bring him a complete chapter are rewarded with a key to a vault of riches. During Fury's quest, Vulgrim alone holds the key to Fury's growth. Souls fed to him allow her to purchase more items to make her an even deadlier horseman. His dealings are as labyrinthine as the serpent holes he travels. At one point, Vulgrim brokered a deal with Samael to free Dis, a fellow demon merchant, from captivity. In exchange, Dis would share with Samael the knowledge she possessed about Lucifer's scheme. But when Samael was besieged by Moloch, he sent Warren Strife to fulfill the bargain in his stead. Ever the opportunist, Vulgrim provided the horsemen with upgrades and enhancements, selling power for price. He even directed them to an arena in the void, no doubt wagering on their victories to line his own pockets. Vulgrim explained his pact with Samael and dispatched the horsemen to the Slag, a demonic dungeon, to liberate Dis. Once freed, Dis revealed Lucifer's true objective, a relic said to burn with power of 1,000 suns, hidden within the infernal vault. Vulgrim's second demand was for the Scrying Eye, a relic from the Windbind Canyon Temple, which when combines with the Ember Core, would allow its wielder to spy upon anyone, anywhere. When the horsemen returned with these items, Samael joined them. By using the eye, Vulgrim was able to track Lucifer's allies, Mammon, and later, Belial, who had been exploiting Eden's sacred water. The horsemen's pursuit led to Eden itself, where after a harrowing battle with the fallen angel Astarte, they vowed to sever Lucifer's access to the realm. Vulgrim suggested they would need a holy artifact, one of the fabled weapons of mass destruction abandoned by the angels after their war with the Nephilim. In Death's quest to hunt a demon on Earth and replace his harvester, the horseman sought Vulgrim's aid. The merchant demanded the tongue of a leviathan as payment, a challenge Death met by returning with the creature's entire head. Vulgrim's first encounter with Fury was far from cordial. She saw him as a threat and nearly attacked before he convinced her he was, at heart, just a humble trader. From then on, Vulgrim offered Fury a range of wares in exchange for souls. Yet Vulgrim was not without his problems. His serpent holes, the mystical tunnels he relied upon for commerce and travel, were overrun by stone-like invaders. Once tolerant of his presence, these beings had grown weary of his opportunism. After Fury obtained the Flame Hollow from the Lord of Hollows, Vulgrim sought her help, believing the Hollow to be the key needed to purge the unwanted guests. Recognizing Fury's appetite for violence, he enlisted her aid to reclaim the realm. Vulgrim's ambition extended further. He attempted to bargain with Fury for the angelic weapon's salvation, offering 1,000,000 souls for it, but Fury refused, finding it more valuable in her quest than in Vulgrim's vault. Each time Fury received a new Hollow from the Lord of Hollows, Vulgrim returned, seeking her help in eliminating the Keepers of the Void. When Fury finally learned the truth from her stoned adversaries, she came to claim Vulgrim's head. The demon's silvered tongue saved him. He promised her and her brothers unfettered access to the serpent holes, and gave her abyssal armor, likely pilfered by Vulgrim himself. Throughout Death's quest to restore mankind, Vulgrim maintained his role as merchant, emerging wherever his glyphs appeared, ready to barter. His wares often included boxes of uncertain value, bought with both gilt and boatman coins, always a gamble, yet sometimes yielding treasures beyond price. Unequally, he offered possessed weapons, and even a rare item allowing Death to reallocate his skills. He also coveted chapters of the Book of the Dead, trading them for keys to Death vaults. For war, Vulgrim was a constant presence during his journey. The demon provided goods, upgrades, and abilities in exchange for the souls War reaped from his enemies. War, acting under the Council's orders, was told to seek out Vulgrim, a demon who had fallen from the Destroyer's favor but sought new alliances. Vulgrim revealed that the Destroyer's true power lay within the Central Tower, advising War to form an uneasy alliance with Samael in return for souls. Once War slew Tiamat, Vulgrim offered him the use of the serpent holes, enabling the horsemen to traverse the devastated city instantly, so long as Vulgrim could inspect the freshly taken heart of the Chosen. Vulgrim also purchased artifacts, always for souls. Though Vulgrim's role is that of a merchant, his personality is anything but bland. He is talkative, sly, and endlessly devious, traits befitting a demon, yet always he honors his bargains. His charisma is unmistakable, his tongue as smooth as obsidian. He calls himself a capitalist, caring only for profit and gain, and remains largely indifferent to the war between heaven and hell. Vulgrim respects War, offering guidance when paths are blocked, and never showing the slightest fear before the Red Rider or Death. With Fury, however, he is more cautious, recognizing her notorious impatience and temper, yet not above cajoling or manipulating her when it suits him. Despite the danger, Vulgrim's tone remains jovial, even when threatened. His hunger for souls is legendary. He finds the young ones especially delicious, and in some ways is reminiscent of the Watcher, always close at hand, always watching and taunting, but with a grudging respect for War's tenacity and determination. Vulgrim admires War's resourcefulness, often flattering him, yet does not hesitate to speak bluntly when War acts rashly. He is cunning and perceptive, warning Fury that she and her brethren are pawns in a much larger game, and often hints at unseen threats lurking closer than she realizes. Vulgrim is more than a merchant. He is a survivor, a master manipulator, and an indispensable ally to the horsemen when the path ahead is darkest. Abraxis, by his own proud admission, is a demon who deals in class. When word reached him of the impending rise of the Destroyer, he wasted no time assembling a cadre of demons to erect the Black Throne, a monument to ambition and power. His intent was clear: to secure a place as the Destroyer's favored lieutenant, to stand as his right hand when Hell's new order dawned. Yet, even among the demon lords, there are greater predators. In his pursuit of power, Abraxis became entangled in the schemes of Lilith, the demoness whose cunning surpasses most in all of Hell. Lilith whispered to Abraxis that the Lord of Hollows was a traitor, a renegade who'd sought to ascend to godhood and reshape all creation in his own hollowed image. Eager to win Lilith's favor, and to eliminate a rival who might one day threaten his own existence, Abraxis began to hunt the Lord of Hollows, never suspecting how deep the web truly ran. This vendetta set the stage for his own downfall. As the former council agent, now hunted, began plotting his own counter moves. Thus it was that when Fury, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, strode boldly into his throne room, Abraxis greeted her with poise. She revealed that the Lord of Hollows had sent her to end him. Rather than attack, Abraxis chose dialogue, elaborating on his relationship with his rival and sharing what little knowledge he possessed, though, as he admitted, much of what he believed was a lie woven by Lilith to advance her own design. Fury then faced a choice: to battle Abraxis and deliver his soul to the Lord of Hollows, or to show mercy. Should she choose to spare him, Abraxis offered sincere gratitude, inviting her to consider his fortress a sanctuary at any time. Nevertheless, the canonical path is for Fury to confront and kill him, ensuring his end. Throughout their encounter, Abraxis spoke with unfailing politeness and cultured restraint, never raising his hand against Fury, even after learning she was there to kill him. In a realm where deception is the demon's art, Abraxis was a rare exception. He never lied to Fury about the Lord of Hollows' ambitions, making him one of the few demons to speak truth in a world of shadows. Abraxas often referred to himself in the third person, his self-awareness matched only by his keen perception. He may have seen through Envy's Watcher disguise during their first meeting. Yet the Lord of Hollows later remarked that Abraxas had missed something crucial in the cosmic drama, hinting that even the most perceptive demon could not be blind to the full truth. In power, Abraxas ranked among the upper echelons of Hell's Lords. The Lord of Hollows considered Abraxas' presence on Earth a dire threat in itself, and Envy, disguised as the Watcher, mocked Fury's attempt to confront him, calling it stupid, and fearing Abraxas might become too powerful. Ultimately, Abraxas stood as both a symbol of demonic ambition and a reminder that even in hell, truth and deception dance in the same flames. Belial, a cunning and ambitious fiend, was among those to whom Lucifer extended his infernal bargain following the war that consumed Eden. The terms were simple, yet fateful. In exchange for Belial's soul upon his death, Lucifer granted him unfettered access to Eden's sacred waters, 3 Dreadwalker guardians as his sentinels, and a shadowed realm to claim as his own dominion. Wasting no time, Belial set his schemes into motion. He opened a portal that linked his new domain directly to Eden, allowing the life-giving waters to flood his fortress. Once within his grasp, these waters were transformed, twisted into a potent, deadly poison that would feed his undead armies and further his ascendancy. Yet his reign would not go unchallenged. The horsemen's strife and war tracked him to his corrupted stronghold. There, they dismantled his demonic guard dogs, unraveled his poison factories, and brought ruin to his operations. Even stripped of Lucifer's blessing, Belial proved a formidable foe. He conjured magical barriers to heal and shield himself, his sorcery flaring in defense as he battled the horsemen. Yet, despite his talent for survival and guile, Belial was brought low. Unlike other minions of the Dark Prince, he attempted to barter for his life, offering the horsemen passage into Eden if they would spare him. When they departed, Belial could not resist taunting them, declaring that Eden would be their undoing. His hubris was short-lived. Lucifer soon reached out, his presence an icy shadow. He told Belial that while his foolishness might still serve a purpose, he nonetheless had to be punished, condemning him to an eternity of suffering for his failures. Belial, powerless, could do nothing but curse his former master as the torment began. After the initial apocalypse, with the world in ruins, Belial turned his forces to hunting the few surviving humans. These ruthless actions presumably earned him a return to the rank of Demon Lord. In his new role, he entered into a bargain with the lone human survivor known as the Hunter. Belial promised the Hunter safety in exchange for the location of other survivors, claiming to hold the man's soul hostage to keep him obedient. The Hunter, with little choice, agreed. When death eventually arrived, summoned by the Hunter for vengeance, Belial confessed that he truly held no power over the Hunter's soul and dismissed the mortal as beneath his concern. The demon boasted that while Lilith and Samael might indulge or coddle horsemen, he would not, responding to Death's taunts with violence. Death, unimpressed and unafraid, crushed Belial's resistance, impaling the demon lord with his own trident and ending his reign. Claiming the trident as his trophy, Death returned to the Hunter and upon his request, ended the Hunter's life. Belial's dominion was the concept of corruption itself. He possessed the power to contaminate anything he touched, drawing strength from the purity he defiled. When allowed to poison the waters of Eden, among the purest in existence, his power reached its zenith, making him a dire weapon in the service of Lucifer's designs. Yet, after his fall from grace, Belial's reputation waned. Death regarded him with open contempt. untroubled by the demon's vaunted abilities. Still, Belial commanded a formidable array of magics and tricks. He could summon tridents in battle, conjure explosions, teleport across the field, and shroud himself in invulnerability. His small wings did not grant flight, but with magic, he could float and evade. Ultimately, his greatest weakness was the amulet he wore around his neck, a focus for his magic and a fatal flaw. When the amulet was damaged, his defenses crumbled, leaving him open to death's final blow. Dagon was counted among one of the masters of hell who forged dark paths with Lucifer in the wake of the war at Eden. Their bargain was simple and demanding. In exchange for Dagon's soul upon his death, Lucifer granted him dominion over Eden, a realm Dagon coveted as the foundation of a new empire. Once the pact was sealed, Dagon wasted no time. He marshaled his armies and began the systemic corruption of Eden's sacred waters, plotting to unleash a cataclysmic deluge that would annihilate all life and leave a barren canvas upon which he can paint his own kingdom. His vision was nothing less than a total cleansing, erasing every remnant of the old world to make way for his reign. Dagon's ambitions were thwarted when the horsemen, strife and war, intervened. The demon lord had begun a powerful ritual to trigger his great flood, but his stormcaller shamans, essential to the spell, were hunted down and slain by the relentless horsemen. With the stormcallers destroyed and the portal to Eden sealed shut, Dagon's hopes for an unopposed conquest were dashed. Undeterred, Dagon confronted the horsemen directly. The path to him was littered with the corpses of his minions, slain by war and strife's fury. In the ensuing clash, Dagon unleashed the full extent of his power. Towering and monstrous, he was a terror in the water, wielding immense tentacles to ensnare his enemies. His mastery over the elements was unmatched. He could summon tempests, conjure floods to submerge entire realms, and command lightning to smite foes from afar. Despite his formidable strength and the raw fury of his aquatic domain, Dagon was ultimately no match for the horsemen. After a brutal battle, in which he attempted to drown war and strife in conjured waters, Dagon was defeated and slain, his ambitions and his curse on Eden washed away by the very power he sought to command. Dis is a demon merchant whose reputation is rivaled only by her wit and ambition. In ages past, Dis entered into a fateful bargain with Vulgrim, a deal that, when left unpaid, condemned her to a debt of servitude that would last as long as Vulgrim himself endured. Bound by this pact, Dis became his unwilling slave, forced to labor for the demon merchant in hopes of one day collecting enough souls to ransom back her own. Her plight worsened when the crystal that served as her prison was stolen, trapping her within the slag, a hellish dungeon, infamous even among the demons. Dis's captivity was the result of her pursuit of an artifact of immense significance to Lucifer, an errand she undertook at Vulgrim's command. For her troubles, she found herself punished, imprisoned within the slag's depths as both captive and commodity. When war and strife eventually crossed her path and freed her from the crystalline cell, Dis's initial gratitude gave way to disappointment when she realized they had simply returned her to Vulgrim's clutches. Yet, ever resourceful, she adapted to her predicament. Dis shared with the horsemen all she knew about the Ember Core, an artifact at the heart of Lucifer's schemes, hoping to remain useful and perhaps earn her freedom. Determined to make the best of her chains, Dis established a side business, teaching war and strife new combat techniques and offering upgrades to their abilities, always with an eye on gathering enough souls to break Vulgrim's hold. Unlike most of her kind, Dis radiates a surprising positivity, her bright demeanor and quick humor setting her apart from the usual gloom and menace of demonic company. She detests Vulgrim's mastery over her, yearning for the day when she can finally cast off his shackles. Despite her circumstances, Dis is a welcome presence among the horsemen. Her sassy, often flirtatious banter brings lividity to the grim quest, and she makes no secret of her admiration for their style, though her true desire remains singular, to secure her own freedom from Vulgrim's unyielding grasp. Mammon stands among the elite ranks as one of Hell's masters, a demon whose name is synonymous with avarice and cunning. Once counted as an enemy of Lucifer himself, the demon lord of greed was ultimately enticed into a dark bargain when his old rival arrived with an offer he could not refuse, an arsenal of priceless artifacts from Eden, delivered in exchange for Mammon's soul when his time in the pit finally ended. It was in pursuit of Lucifer's secrets that war and strife came to confront Mammon, determined to rip the truth from him by any means necessary. Sensing the danger, Mammon resorted to his most familiar tactic, bribery. He hurled treasures and relics at the horsemen, hoping to buy their favor or at least delay the inevitable. For a fleeting moment, his ploy worked. Strife, distracted by a particularly tempting bauble, considered the offer, but Mammon's antics only served to irritate the gunslinger, who ended the charade with a bullet to the demon lord's skull. Yet, even death could not claim Mammon so easily. The slain demon proved to be a mere illusion, conjured by the magic of his enchanted mirror. The true Mammon struck from the shadows, launching himself into a battle that would test the horseman's mettle. Throughout the fight, Mammon used every trick at his disposal. He swam through his mountainous piles of gold and jewels, emerging to ambush his foes. He unleashed a barrage of magical artifacts, wielding a colossal floating hammer, a tome that spat forth torrents of arcane energy, a mirror that spawned deceptive doppelgangers, and a casket that gave rise to endless waves of skeletal warriors. Despite the onslaught and the chaos, the horsemen pressed on. Mammon, though formidable in cunning and arsenal, could not match their resolve. Even as Strife's gun pointed at the demon's head, Mammon clung to defiance, refusing to betray Lucifer or reveal the secrets of the Animus. For his unwavering loyalty, he was rewarded with a final, fatal shot, Strife blowing his head off, sealing his fate. In the aftermath, Strife remarked that Mammon's horde would likely fall into Samael's hands, becoming the foundation for rebuilding his infernal legion. As the embodiment of greed, Mammon's cunning and cowardice were his greatest weapons. Though weak in personal combat compared to the other masters, his endless riches and magical arsenal made him a formidable adversary, able to turn even the battlefield itself into a weapon. In the end, Mammon's loyalty to Lucifer and his insatiable hunger for power led him only to ruin, his legacy swallowed by the very greed that defined him. Moloch rose as one of the demon masters granted new power by Lucifer and became a principal adversary to Samael. Strife, ever the sharp tongue, referred to Moloch as a bottom feeder, a slight that reflected the demon lord's unimpressive standing among his peers, at least until Lucifer chose to elevate him. After the war on Eden, Moloch was among those whom Lucifer forged the Dark Pact. The term was clear: in exchange for his soul upon death, Moloch would be granted unyielding strength and virtual invincibility, his body armored by the infernal artifact known as the Blood Mantle. With his newfound might, Moloch wasted no time amassing an army, determined to carve out a domain in hell that would rival all others in Lucifer's service. Emboldened by his seeming invulnerability and driven by a long-standing hatred for Samael, Moloch launched a relentless assault upon Samael's realm. When his forces finally breached the fortress, Moloch confronted Samael in a brutal duel of blades. Victorious, he drove Samael into exile, forcing the former lord to seek the aid of the horsemen Strife and War to reclaim his losses and restore the balance. As Strife and War hunted down and slew the other demon masters bound by Lucifer's pacts, they also managed to destroy the Blood Mantle, which had been hidden in Moloch's armory. With the protection gone, Moloch's arrogance did not waver. The two horsemen, with Samael's support, cut their way through Moloch's legions, finally confronting the demon lord himself. Standing before them, Moloch welcomed a challenge, allowing his army to bear witness to what he believed would be his ultimate triumph. He boasted that War could choke on his words, promising that when he ruined the horsemen, all of hell would understand his supremacy. He declared that by defeating the Charred Council's chosen executioners, his legend would eclipse all rivals, and that Lucifer's true plan would be revealed. Moloch fought with ferocity, wielding his immense power to create streams of explosive, demonic crystals that he could detonate at will, sending eruptions of energy across the battlefield. His weapon of choice was a formidable crystal sword, a longsword clad in radiant pink crystal that could be shattered and regenerated endlessly, each swing unleashing new waves of destruction. Despite his power, the horsemen proved relentless. After a grueling battle, Moloch was finally brought to his knees. Even in defeat, he sneered at his victors, mocking them for playing into Lucifer's schemes, and declaring that the Dark Prince's design was already complete. When Strife demanded to know more, Moloch only laughed, warning them to beware the company they kept. He then turned his attention to Samael, asking if the demon lord had revealed the truth about the Animus. At this, Samael's patience ended. With a single, crushing blow, Samael brought his heel down upon Moloch's skull, silencing the demon forever. Moloch was a force to be reckoned with. His prowess in battle and the power bestowed upon him by Lucifer's blood mantle made him nearly invincible, as even Samael admitted. After losing the blood mantle, he remained stronger than most of his kind, able to face two horsemen at once and unleash a barrage of crystalline destruction until his final, ignominious end. Raciel once soared as a proud angel in the armies of heaven, her wings radiant among the ranks of the First Kingdom. But the tides of fate turned dark. She was banished and transformed, becoming a lost angel, a demonic outcast who would carve her own legend in the depths of hell. Before the Charred Council's treaties, when the forces of heaven and hell clashed openly across creation, Raciel served with distinction under the command of the angel Hadramon. Their loyalty to duty was matched only by a forbidden bond. They became lovers, though such relationships were strictly outlawed by the Codex Bellum. Haunted by guilt, Hadramon confessed their secret. The leaders of heaven, desperate to quell any threat of discord within their legions, seized upon Raciel as an example. She was cast down, banished to hell as a warning to all angels who might dream of defying the old order. Yet, instead of perishing in torment, Raciel was twisted by the abyss into a demonic lost angel, a fallen whose power and fury could not be contained. In the darkness of exile, Raciel did not falter. She rallied lesser demons to her banner, forging a mercenary company whose services were sold to the highest bidder. Her vengeance became legend, her name spoken with fear and respect among the damned. When whispers of the grand abominations reached hell, Panoptos, the council's secretive agent, sought to claim the power for himself and the Watchers, hoping to break free from the council's chains. He hired Raciel's mercenaries, tasking them with seizing the abomination. Raciel's first move was to send her demons to Lilith's laboratory, intending to ambush Hadramon and Belisatra, who had made it their base. But the horsemen had arrived first, and Raciel's forces were slain, allowing the conspirators to escape. Later, Raciel personally led her mercenary horde to the Ravalim homeworld, drawn by the promise of ultimate power. Death, locked in battle, glimpsed her corrupted form hovering above the carnage. However, when Belisatra unleashed Earthreaver, Raciel and her followers withdrew, unwilling to be caught in the maelstrom. Anticipating Hadramon's assault on the Abomination Vault, Death orchestrated a cunning trap. He sent Azrael disguised as a demon to leak the vault's location to Raciel, drawing her forces into the heart of the conflict. Upon arrival, Raciel confronted Hadramon, exploiting their shared past and emotional wounds to sway the rogue angel to her side. Yet, as Hadramon departed to open the vault, Azrael struck, dealing Raciel a mortal wound. Bloodied but defiant, she escaped and limped after Hadramon, only to meet her end when Black Mercy seized control of the angel's body and gunned her down. In a final gambit, Azrael conjured an illusion of Raciel in her pure, angelic form, using her image to distract Hadramon. In that fleeting moment of hope and heartbreak, Death finished the rogue angel, ending a tragedy born of forbidden love, pride, and the shadowed games of gods and monsters. Lucifer reigns as the undisputed sovereign of the Second Kingdom, the dark and infernal master of all demonkind. His dominion is not without challenge, for Samael, the Blood Prince, stands as his chief rival, once believed poised to seize the throne of hell himself. War, ever watchful, observed that the Dark Prince's rule approached its twilight, with Samael next in line to claim the infernal crown. After the cataclysm at Eden, when the four horsemen and the Nephilim crashed and the old order burned, Lilith, broken by the loss of her Nephilim children, came before Lucifer in anguish. Together, they forged a pact to shatter those they held responsible for the Nephilim's extinction, humanity itself. Their vengeance would be absolute. In the shadows between these events, Lucifer saw fit to punish the demon merchant Dis, Vulgrim's servant, for meddling in his affairs. She was bound in servitude, her freedom the price for crossing the Dark Prince's designs. Lucifer's plot began in earnest with the fallen angel Astarte, once of the Fane Guard. Her sanity eroded by corruption, she struck a deal, freedom and the necromantic power to raise the dead in exchange for Eden and her soul. Astarte delivered, granting Lucifer the keys to barter away Eden piece by piece, each fragment traded to a rival demon lord for their souls. To Mammon, Lucifer gifted the treasures of Eden, relics and weapons of immense power, lost on the bloody battlefields by Nephilim and angels alike. To Belial, he gave unfettered access to Eden's pure waters, an army of undead, and a realm of his own, enabling the sorcerer to become a true challenger among Hell's elite. Belial, ever the survivor, would eventually barter his own life by handing over the Voidlock crystal, allowing the horsemen to access Eden. Dagon received the realm of Eden itself, a blank canvas for his aquatic ambition to drown and rebuild a new kingdom from the ruins. To Moloch, Lucifer bestowed a blood mantle, a diabolical artifact that rendered its bearer nearly invincible, able to regenerate from any wound. Of all the great lords, only Samael refused Lucifer's bargain. For this insolence, Moloch was unleashed to seize Shadow's Edge from him, a punishment and warning to all who might defy the Dark Prince. Each of these demon masters, in acting for Lucifer, only served to broaden his power base, but his true intent was more insidious. By elevating his rivals, He painted targets on their backs, making them the perfect prey for the horsemen, who would hunt them down while Lucifer worked from the shadows. Not every rival perished. Belial, by cunning, bargained for his life, but paid with power, condemned to an eternity of suffering. Yet, Lucifer's schemes came to fruition. He distilled the vilest traits of demonkind into a living force, the Animus, and let it loose upon humanity, infecting them with fear, hatred, and lust. While strife and war returned to a corrupted earth, they beheld the monstrous transformation of mankind. Lucifer appeared to them, possessing the body of a child, mocking the horsemen with the flaws of mortals, and daring them to exterminate humanity to halt the spread of his animus. Before they could strike, Lucifer's spirit slipped away, leaving chaos in his wake. His crime was so great that the charred council severed Earth from creation and forged the 7 seals in response. Throughout the saga, Lucifer was known as the Dark One, the true master of hell. When the horsemen warned Samael to respect the truce, Samael deferred, pointing to Lucifer's primacy. War predicted that the Dark One's reign would soon end, with Samael ready to ascend. After the final survivors of humanity escaped the Destroyer's onslaught, Lilith returned to Lucifer. He received a report with amusement, dismissing Fury's efforts to shield humankind as insignificant. Lucifer explained that with Abaddon, the Destroyer, in control of Earth, and heaven and hell locked in an endless struggle, corruption would devour all opposition, leaving him alone as a supreme ruler. Content, he dismissed Lilith to brood over his next move. In the true canon ending, as Fury used the Lord of Hollow's stone sigil to survive the Council's fury, the Dark Prince berated Lilith for failing to silence the traitor to the Dark Kingdom. Yet, he ultimately dismissed her blunder, predicting that the Council would send war to Earth, setting in motion the breaking of the 7th seal and the final dawn of chaos. Throughout the End War, Lucifer did not set foot on Earth, but his presence loomed large, always mentioned as the Dark Prince. After war's imprisonment, Vulgrim informed him that Samael's power rivaled even Lucifer's, while Samael himself complained of the company his master kept, refusing to endorse Abaddon's inclusion in Hell's scheme. When the Archangel of Death, Azrael, worried that the Council might take notice of Abaddon's plans, Abaddon reassured him that it would be Heaven's word against the Prince of Lies, a title that encapsulates Lucifer's reputation. Ultimately, after death restored humanity and destroyed corruption's source, Lucifer lost his greatest weapon. To add insult to injury, Lilith failed to resurrect the Nephilim. Instead, humanity was reborn from the ashes of his devastation. Lilith, shamed, wandered through a shadowed corridor to meet the mysterious figure, her prince, who reprimanded her for her failure and promised a punishment she would not enjoy. Her screams echoed into the darkness. Thus, the Dark Prince's arrogance, his certainty that the horseman could never threaten his designs, proved to be false. Death, ending corruption and restoring humanity, while fury and strife safeguarded the survivors and gathered crucial relics. Only war, in the end, fulfilled the role Lucifer had tried to impose. Now, with the End War truly at hand and the 7th seal shattered, most of Lucifer's ambitions are in ruin, and the 4 horsemen are unleashed to punish the wicked, their vengeance a storm upon which even the Prince of Hell must reckon. Lucifer's mind remains a labyrinth, his motives hidden, his schemes inscrutable. Even Samael confessed that to understand Lucifer is to stare into madness itself. The Dark Prince is pitiless, creative in punishment, and intolerant of failure, witnessed the fates of Belial and Lilith. His arrogance, however, proved fatal. Though he engineered the corruption of humanity, the destruction of the Nephilim, and the near extinction of his rivals, the very chaos he unleashed became the forge of his own plan's demise. The horsemen, once pawns in his grand design, now stand as the harbingers of his reckoning. The arsenal of hell, as depicted throughout the Darksiders saga, surges forth from the abyssal forges of the Second Kingdom, a relentless symphony of brutality and infernal mastery, every weapon designed to plunge creation into chaos. Demons, by their nature, favor the dominance of melee combat. Their monstrous forms are armed with savage claws, fangs, and tusks, each weaponized appendage made to rend flesh and shatter bone. Their armories overflow with crudely wrought swords, axes, and mauls, tools of carnage that cleave through the strongest armor with thunderous, bone-breaking force. Compared to the meticulous craftsmanship of heaven, Hell's armaments are primitive, but what they lack in refinement, they compensate for in overwhelming might. Demons rely on the mass and power of their bodies, hurtling themselves into frenzied assaults that batter enemies into submission. When distance is required, they unleash hellfire magic, spewing torrents of flame to reduce their foes to cinders from afar. When it comes to demon lords, This ferocity is elevated to godlike terror. Belial's own demon flame renders, forged in the heart of his own personal blast furnace, strike with such heat that every blow sets adversaries ablaze, their bodies erupting into flames. The legendary Black Demise, a blade whose bloody history is whispered among demon nobility, is inscribed with runes that steal an opponent's inner vitality, binding it to the wielder in a cycle of stolen strength and perpetual hunger. Fracture cannons, demon forged and pilfered from angelic design, fire explosive salvos that tear through the enemy's ranks, while lesser lords like Abraxis command from mobile thrones of obsidian, citadels pulsing with abyssal energy, summoning reinforcements with mere gesture. The demonic hierarchy amplifies this thread. At the lowest rung, hellions swarm in numbers, wielding makeshift blades and hurling fire spit volleys with reckless abandon. Their resilience borders on uncanny, allowing them to shrug off wounds as they claw, bite, and overwhelm in endless tides. Above them, elites, such as Painbringers, wield enormous cleavers and shoulder hellfire launchers, their armored hides so thick that even the horsemen must strike with all their might to pierce them. All these powers flow from the abyss, the primeval wellspring of demonic might. Fire manipulation reigns supreme. Demons hurl fireballs from their maws, unleashing storms of flaming projectiles, and radiate auras that ignite the air itself. Summoners rip holes between realms, calling forth lesser fiends or massive blasts to do their bidding. Telekinesis is not uncommon among their lords, who toss boulders or pin their enemies with invisible force. Those of the highest rank can transform, swelling into draconic or monstrous form, unfurling wings to dominate the battlefield from above. Demonic durability seems almost eternal, allowing them to endure the blade of angels and horsemen alike, until cataclysmic relics such as the Armageddon blade are brought to bear. Throughout their armies, corrupt magic is woven into every act, empowering minions, shrouding champions in impenetrable darkness, and performing soul-draining rites that grant unholy regeneration. Their tools of conquest are as infamous as their weapons. The Black Throne, a fortress that floats above the abyss, channels energy from the Well of Souls, amplifying demonic power of bolstering their armies beyond reckoning. Desecrated relics, such as the shards of the Rod of Arafel, are warped to create abomination, suffering husks, abyssal spawns, and other horrors that haunt the battlefield. During the carnage of the End War, these weapons and powers transformed Earth into a graveyard, a charnel pit where demon legions overwhelmed Heaven's Hellguard in a relentless tide of fire, claw, and shadow. Only the wrath of Heaven's horsemen could stem the infernal onslaught, and even then, the world was forever scarred by the brutal ingenuity of Hell. As the embers fade and Hell's clamorous courts quiet, the echoes of demon plots and pacts linger, reminding us that the Second Kingdom's legacy is written in both power and ruin. Their blood feuds and infernal bargains have shaped the very fate of the cosmos, but the wheel of eternity turns unceasingly onward. Beyond the burning wastes of obsidian fortresses lies another mystery, a land where memories linger, secrets are battered, and the dead themselves hold court. Next time, we cross the veil and descend into the kingdom of the dead. From the storied halls of the eternal throne to the lost souls wandering the city of the dead, we'll unveil the ancient bargains, forgotten kings, and spectral warriors who determine the fate of all who pass beyond the mortal coil. Like, share, and subscribe to follow every shadow and secret. Join me, Vigil, from Video Game Lore, as we journey deeper into the heart of Darksiders' greatest mysteries. Let me know in the comments who your favorite demon was. The next realm awaits us, and I will see you all in the next one.